feelings are deceiving you. Your legs are not broken. The floor is not on fire. You can walk if you just stand up and try. Your clothes are not made of acid. Your skin won't get infected if you just stop washing your hands. She doesn't hear me. She's crawling through the valley of death alone, and I'm on some faraway mountaintop, preaching to a choir that doesn't know how to sing. She's screaming at me to leave her to her own devices as I was her mortal adversary and this affliction her best friend. She's locked me out of her problems and I'm fumbling with my keys, trying to find a memory that fits the skeleton in her closet, trying to talk to her to the slender force field in her force field, trying not to lose my mind while looking for answers to questions physicians have yet to define. They just want to sedate her with Zoloft and Prozac into a fabricated Candyland where she never frowns but never smiles either, just stares out of a classroom window. The teachers tower over her with magnifying glasses, focusing on every little imperfection except the education. And here we are at 12 noon, where school is a fantasy because we can't even get past this room. And I don't know what I'm supposed to do. What's the lesson in the suffering of children? What's the use in teaching justice and morality in the world so inherently unfair when an innocent child can become a victim just by being born? I pray until I sweat, until my hands and face are painted red, trying to cast this demon out with the power of my own volition, not knowing the difference between a spirit and a condition, between faith and trying to squeeze God into a vending machine that spits out genie bottles and cheap 50-cent wishes. And it took me years to find John chapter 9 to learn that some people are born blind just so Jesus can heal their eyes later in life. So they can go and tell the physicians and the teachers who were born with working eyes but couldn't see the truth, who doubt everything that doesn't come with a label and a lesson plan. You shouldn't have counted me out so fast. It might be impossible with man, but with God all things are possible. So stand on Jesus. Stand and believe that even though life is a wingless flight of stairs, there are no wheelchairs in heaven. Stand even if you don't understand how you're still standing. If life gives you lemons, make lemon pepper tilapia, lemon caper chicken, lemon meringue pie. It's not about the dish you make, but that you took what life dished out and you made it. And I had to stop trying to make things happen for my little sister. I wanted to see her walk so bad she was starting to hate me for being a hypocrite, for preaching on that Jesus when I was crawling through the valley of death just like she was. The floor was on fire because of the path that I chose to tread. I was singing in the choir, shouting hallelujah all my way to hell because I didn't know salvation for myself. All I had to do was believe that Jesus died on the cross and he buried and he arose again from the dead and go into prayer confessing my sins, asking him to forgive me and save my soul. That's what the Bible says, but nobody ever says what the Bible says. It's always something difficult that I have to do, some complex problem I have to fix, or some foreign language that I have to speak. Here I am trying to live this picture-perfect life in God's eyes, essentially spiritually washing my hands compulsively, using the same porcelain God my senses to good dump in. And I don't know about tomorrow, but today my sister stood up. She's in her right mind, and last month I got to watch her walk across the stage. So can't nobody tell me what God can't do, that God doesn't answer prayer. But if it's going to be done, it's going to be done in his time, not mine. I don't have to have all the answers. All I have to do is believe in the one who redeemed me, and his will for my life, and having done all, to stand.
My mother, Betty Broderick, on the morning after her parole was denied. Newspapers describe your heart as a metronome. Helps you remember there is a drum declaring war inside of you at all times. I think it's been beaten too long. You are defeated. You are forcing open wounds that are only trying to heal. How could you not feel your own fleece filling you? I witnessed the beast he brought out. I begged to retire the manic coddling of his love. Even the flowers out front could see he didn't want you anymore. That's why they were dying. Not because his new girlfriend was lazy. They were wilting anytime they felt the petals in your brain shake. There was a time when you were beautiful to me. There was a point when I believed you could survive on your own. You abandoned your children with hopes of you winning this war, and I wasn't mad at you. In fact, I was so proud that you understood you could exist alone. Wish I would have known back then what your motives were. Tell me. Dad's face looked like his heart was breaking each time you put a bullet in. And Linda's small body explode just like you wanted? Did it feel good to point and pull out all the places that they had betrayed you and you stole your revenge from them? Tell me, you did all of this for your children. Tell me how any of my future relationships are ever going to peace again, now that I've discovered there's butchery in my blood. I want to forgive you. Interviews I've seen you in since then star a monster who smiles when she says she is the victim. Me, and Lee, and Danny and Rhett, we are the victims, you are the villain, and our dad is dead. Prison keeps calling, begging me to come visit. Probably keep calling until I do. They can't. I'm gonna make them wait. Guess that's Dad's part of my brain telling me to get back at you by pretending you don't exist.
This is a no tonic, straight gin sort of night. In fact, I ate a double. Put it on my tab. This is a go outside and pretend to have a cell phone conversation with that monster you call mother, just for an excuse to scream your bowels onto the sidewalk sort of night. After your third chain of cigarettes, pick your angriest poem to spit for the second round because that's the only one you can do justice to. Convince yourself that you can only create while tipsy and whisper in your ear, you've been sober almost 4 years now. This is a step-by-step instruction guide to demolition, disguised as bipolar and post-traumatic wrapping paper. I have been following it exactly. What good is having a messiah for a daughter if I don't listen to her smile or heed the divine revelation of her purple butterfly costume? They say the things you don't heal from are the things you pass on to your children. Congratulations on becoming exactly what you set out to destroy. When will I want healing enough to actually do it, which half of me is lying to myself? I believed I held my mental illness in the beds of my fingernails. Right now, the only thing I am certain of is that the pauses between these poets' breaths call me back to the tap-tap of my daughter's first steps. If Satan had a name for me, it would be Sister. The monster, my mother, taught her this distorted variation of truth. How else could the devil wrestle his way inside the mouth of my butterfly princess? My daughter calls me Sister. She spent 36 weeks tucked inside my belly and doesn't even recognize me. I cast my lyric to catch inside her rib cage, so she will find my love biding its time inside her chest someday. I do not want her back. I just want her to be safe from the monsters in her closet and the one who sleeps in the upstairs bedroom. If the scientific method is any sort of standard, her grandma's lies will drive her to poetry too. I should be so lucky. This is an introspective crucible that I will conveniently forget to live by in the morning sort of night. I can't love anymore. So I slam a prayer to today's non-existent deity of choice that the monster won't kill off that part of my daughter.
You're louder than the
are my hands. I do everything with them. I write. I eat. I wipe my ass. I wipe old people's ass. It's a job and they pay well. These are my hands. I do everything with them. Hold my nephew's 6-year-old heart in the palm. The night my mother accused me of being a boogeyman, I became afraid of what my hands could do. My nephew. He often gift wraps himself in sleep and Spider-Man pajamas so that he can Superman fight his dreams. He's always trying to stay up past his bedtime. It's not until we're 18 and stuck in a bar past 11 that we realize we ain't missing nothing. His favorite pillow is my ribs. When he calls my bones a good enough bed frame, I look down at him and see what fatherhood would look like for the first time. I think he just likes my heartbeat. My mother is a great white shark shaped like a cloud. There are storms of lies under the silver filling lining her teeth. The raindrops she spits like crucible accusations. I am on a stake one night when our home was particularly foggy with her. She burst into my bedroom, showed me what a hesitating hurricane looked like. She screamed. So thunderclap in a china cup quiet. Ripped my reverse suicide note nephew from my arms, my chest pillow, my heart, his favorite dead thing. She looked so disappointed in me, as if the sticky webs in her imagination were somehow my fault. I was my nephew's knight in shining black skin, accused of being the Green Goblin, his enemy, a monster of stealing him, accused of being a pedophile with my hands. All I did was hold a child that I love while being a man with my hands. We are given these same hands to live through our whole life. Hands that I have swear mine, fuck you, and goodbye forever. Cursed at God. Made a fist, pointed a finger, beat the autism out of my little brother's nose. Hands that wrote these witness statements of a poem, that play bulimia a little too often still, that got fired from wiping old people's ass, still don't even make a living using my hands, held my nephew's heart, let it get ripped away by a black storm, venom, his arch enemy. Hands that let our relationship crumble like an uncle's death I could have prevented. They are unclean. They are mine. I am unclean. I cannot hold my nephew with the same hands I have held sin in. If you saw the way she looked at my hands, if you saw the way he looked back at me, if you saw the way she looked at my hands. Yes!
Somebody's pockets with no job or general purpose. He's a worthless excuse for a man indeed. Time abandons us in a time of need. Just when it seems like we're beginning to see some semblance of a family, time forgets us, pushes us to the corner of existence, insists that we shut up. All you continues in nothing, watching television and getting drunk, lost in false realities of what time could have been. So we forget what time should have been as he bears to the bottom of a bottle of sand when we break our necks to cut him. Time flies from heaven for the knot, sometimes off the mouth, sometimes his hands, sometimes in the house completely. And everything's going so fast, we can't even tell that time is passing. Time like it's aging our ears from the fights and fallouts and fears of being woke up in the middle of the night with time outside. Because it's not about how we take time for granted. We don't appreciate what time has done for us. As if time could heal our wounds. As if everything in good time. And as we start burning to the side wall with this body, and we get the wood splintering as we hurl it home to the refrigerator, we tie to the kitchen door. Because when it's cold, time moves slow. And all I can think about is my little sister. What will time do to her if we give it time? But how can she escape him? She was born from his seed, his blood runs through her veins, and nobody can see it. The same apathy, the same lack of ambition, the same hopeless potential trapped behind a smile. When I'm running from time with my eyes closed, my shoes untied, no less, running to my future that may not exist, kicking and scratching and tripping myself, trying to keep time away from me, because the police never come on time. So time is all the time in the world to choke the life from me. And I can feel it every day. Even when it feels like time is standing still. watch TV movie like, waiting for the best time to strike. I walked to school thinking terrible, jumped off from behind a tree, arrived on his motorcycle, just kicking the door of my 5th grade classroom, because time waits for no one, not even himself. So what's an 11-year-old boy? He has no patience. He wants success now, or fuck that bitch in the employment line. Then expect us to go on his couch, singing that same time love song about how things will be different this time. But time never changes. He just repeats the same game in different languages. Always talking about his story, how life has been unfair to him. When we're the ones who suffer most from his endless yesterdays. And there were so many days I wanted time to end. I prayed patiently waiting for God to just smite him in with his crimes. And I regretted life and wished for death. Because my mind, life, and time seemed inseparable. He just wouldn't let us go.
You're a nightmare. A false sense of security that goes away as soon as the sun comes up. You're a fake sense of entitlement that doesn't speak directly of my childhood, but just lurks around the room. As if your job is to remind me of how big of a baby I can be. If it were up to me, I would bury it under the piles of bills I cannot afford to pay. The college term papers that didn't write themselves, and those 100,000 Bed Bath & Beyond 20% off flyers. A lover is just another person that I have nothing in common with. The word love itself is a billboard with all our tallies marked on it, and it's not a game to me. This heart, it's pretty bruised. It's gentle. It's nothing that I thought a heart is supposed to be. So yeah. It hurts to get your heart handed back to you time after time. It's a tender moment when you find yourself lying awake on the hardwood floors of your own house, too scared to sleep on your furniture because even the leather smells like a series of sin-soaked mistakes you'll never forgive yourself for, even when everyone else already has. Look, it's hard enough to get through the soggy, broken heartbeats. If you're really listening, I need you to know that you did not do this to me. One day, these lips are going to open up again for more than just words. The ego that's wrapped around this heart will fall like it never has before. When it arrives, like these things tend to do sometimes, I will be poised. I will be humble. I will be primed. I will be brazen, and you did not do that to me either. A lover is just another person that I have nothing in common with. The word love itself should be blown up, and we should all be right away rewired. You're the blanket I've had since that beach trip in 2003 that just reminds me of all the things I forgot to do with myself since then. You're a nightlight. Never bright enough to blow up anything in the whole room, just there to remind whoever is in it where the door is.
March 8th, between the hours of 2 and 5 a.m., they shot her twice, dragged her body down the highway under their car, and dumped her on the side of the road. Even in her death, the media didn't have the decency to grant her the last dignity of using the correct pronouns. The man wearing women's clothes was found dead, they said. As if somehow she had it coming for daring to be different in a way that made people so uncomfortable. I watched the sheriff hold her at arm's length between phobic fingertips. His face said that the rancid stench of her sunrise-rotted flesh was the icon of anti-morality. And as I cried for my sister, my roommate had the ignorance to tell me not to take it personally. After all, people are murdered every day. Maybe if she were murdered for being a mundane, whitewashed suburbanite, people would pay attention. But it could have been me And she was one of mine, so damn right I'm gonna take it personally. Sometimes I swear, no one but us gives a fuck. Every time we lose another, I can't fathom why we're not rioting. I knew a girl who used to name every lobster in the tank, so I couldn't eat them. Would it help maybe if I brought you a list of victims? You know who I'm seeing. 28, stabbed to death and left in a roadside dump. Amanda Gonzalez, strangled. An unidentified transgender woman, body never claimed. Dismembered and mutilated. Another beheaded. Brenda, burned to death. Selma, drowned. And 16-month-old Roy Antonio Jones III, Southampton, New York, beaten to death by his mother's boyfriend who told the cops he was trying to make him act more like a boy. How many more have to die before we wake up? Well, I have had enough. Yes, I will continue to jump down your throats every time you utter the words faggot, tranny, or that's so gay, because that is where it starts and this is where it ends. I can feel the blood in my veins being replaced by gasoline, and that is the righteous indignation that we need to be taking to the streets. If ever there was a time for us to stand up, it was the morning of March 8th, between the hours of 2 and 5 a.m. Markel, I am sorry. We should have been there for you. Let's not let it happen again.
Especially since you've read it 8 million times before. Get it, Akeem.
Hey guys, do you need to feel more confident?
Yes!
Do your skills in the bedroom leave your wife fantasizing about President Obama? Is your penis too small for your body? If so, I have a product for you. Do you often lose it while doing everyday mundane tasks like showering, masturbating, or having a group orgy with Asian whores with a giggle fetish? Do your friends often get you birthday gifts of tweezers and a magnifying lens, leaving you bitter and confused? Do you often get questions such as, is it in yet? Were you born physically female and really? Where? If so, we have the product for you. It's called Mandingo Dick. Dingo, dingo, dingo. Now you two can feel what black men have been feeling for years. Trust me, we just have ours sliced off and pickled. If that doesn't shout admiration, I don't know what does. Just check Jasper, Texas. Isn't that like in the till? Take that car convertible that you've been overcompensating with and feel the wind in your hair. And your genitals. Finally, flashing old ladies will no longer be offensive. It's a public service now. With more flesh comes more confidence. Just ask the entire cast of 16 and pregnant. Your new penis has many uses. Swat flies with it. Smack yourself in the face with it. Swat flies while smacking yourself in the face with it. What's wrong for a short dick, man? Not quite adjusting to your newfound self-esteem? Well then, try new vitamin supplements. Pour those Now you too can ejaculate on Lawrence Fishburne's daughter's back, like Brian Pumper, the man who ate G-Unit. Get that promotion at work. Get your wife to stop fucking your pool boy. Use it as a sushi platter. All this and more. Fish Mill, a $50 value, absolutely free, with 50 days of $9.99.99. Your firstborn daughter and one testicle. Order today. Dignity and self-respect sold separately by 2,000 hours of group therapy or God. Mandingo! Dingo. Dingo. Dick! Offer not valid if you are uncircumcised.
I keep a phoenix flying over the microphone inside my head, reciting a breeze deep into the sky that holds its wings, while Harry scribbled down his flight pattern, capturing the wind in my hand like a secret, like a bumblebee bouncing from word to word, like flower petals, pollinating orchids that organize my thoughts into a flock of eagles, a squadron of fighter jets, until I'm in the cockpit of a tomcat painting the sky red with my afterburner, bursting through a cloud of confusion and busting out the other side, spitting inside while the missiles like similes, my mind set on fire, spinning into a vertical climb so high that oxygen in the room becomes an endangered species. Because reciting poetry is like learning how to breathe in outer space, like touching a star without burning your fingertips, like learning how to feel the spirit with your kingdom of God. And the light we camouflage the sound. So if you find me sitting in the back talking to myself, I'm not possessed by demons. I'm not having an epileptic seizure. Poetry is my imaginary friend, and when I write it, I'm driving in a midnight blue Sonata with poetry sitting shotgun, using my rhyme book as an atlas, weaving in a line of traffic, speeding down freeways to freestyles and free minds, backwards, using the past in my rearview mirror, the future's my windshield, gripping the pen like a steering wheel, doing donuts in the parking lot of ideas until the skid marks start to look like crop circles in the asphalt, and rhymes becoming the right flying objects thrown from the crash like shrapnel. So if you find me in the bottom of a train called pileup on the turnpike, don't slow down and pretend like you're calling the ambulance. I'm perfectly fine! This is how I embrace my inner child! These words are my amazing magic Lego set, and I can build planes that can fly in the astral plane, or erect skyscrapers from motion only down both at the same time, and land in two totally different places. That's just how I like to wake up in the morning, between two extremes, dazed and confused, not knowing whether to wake it, and still dreaming, and poetry's that coffee killing me soft like too much caffeine and not enough sleep. So if you find me in this singing song, I'm not crazy, I just forgot how to blink. About the same time I remembered how to think. And in order for the ink to dry and come back to life, somebody else has got to die. In order to fly, you got to learn how to crash and rise from the ashes. So at night I picture my pencil as a pistol. When I write, I play Russian roulette with my thoughts until I blow my brains out, only to watch it rebound off the wall and back into my skull. It's not somewhere between heaven and hell, reciting a love poem I wrote for purgatory. Because struggle only strengthens my testimony. And when everything is going haywire, it just wraps my words in barbed wire. See, I like my poems so jagged when spoken, they cling to a person's lungs. Like spiders that paralyze the audience. And when it's been on page, it's like watching a suicide victim come back to life. The poet literally takes themselves apart, physically self-destructs, freeze my face, and still manages to walk off stage. Now that's my type of magic. Stuff my body into a magic, and like a magic, I'll turn my soul into a Roman candle, right in the midnight sky with my burning ashes, and still be dancing at the grand finale like nothing happened, like everything happened, but nothing happened. Because every problem is just a poem playing hide and seek in the background, and every poet is an alchemist with a flashlight, a getaway driver with headlights, a kamikaze fighter pilot with a time bomb, shrimp on chest. And the shirker says, to give life meaning is to give that meaning to something else. And that's the only way I know how to cheat death.
Brings over red wine all the time. We both like to be lubricated in this stuff. Don't think drunk is a nice enough word to describe how well we dissolve it. He knows what hard work feels like. He hates it. He knows that no matter how solid his drudge is, he's going to die. He says he just wants to desert it. Now he's convinced that every day means the end is near. He will eat mushrooms that are laced with poison because he says it brings him closer to believing in God. He pumps into his body a series of liberties that no one understands but me. I imagine it's why he still comes over. I'm the virgin in his porno shop. I don't have to continue to eat his fire for him to know it's in my belly. I can do a lot of things without hope because I'm the new American dream.
All right.
Hard enough to get laid and smart enough to know that getting laid doesn't mean anything. His hair, it's been falling out ever since his school teachers told him he has to tuck in his 7th period erections. It's his logic for constant conversations about masturbation and loose-fitting jeans. He doesn't fall in love easily. He blames that on his first girlfriend who was fucking her soccer coach. We both know it's really because he's a dick and hates the idea of seeing the same pair of tits for more than 2 years in a row. Never invited me into his apartment. Imagine it has newspaper floors and no light bulbs. Imagine the only reason why he still comes over is because he doesn't want to die with new light bulbs in his sockets. Once, I asked him what it feels like to make plans. He said it's a lot like getting out of the car and walking into Applebee's. Once, he said we are only as strong as our secrets. That it's what makes my eyes so dark and despondent. He tells me things about myself that I didn't even know. Like that when I sleep, my organs grow arms and tuck themselves up into my skin because my blood is too cold. That I make up my dreams lucidly and I have to start writing them down before I even go to sleep or I'll never enjoy anything. That I make love like a robot. And it's the most beautiful emotion he's never seen. The best secret I hide from everyone is I'm a boy wrapped in sex clothes. Once, I asked him what it feels like to die. He said it's probably a lot like having nothing left to say.
That's strange.
A letter to the girl I was from the man I am now. Dearest Hillary, you're going to hear several times over the next few years that God can restore your virginity. They mean well, but in reality, restored virginity is something you will have to discover for yourself. Honey, I know that his arms bring healing so close you can taste it. But trust me, baby, one day his fingertips tracing your body will turn to dry vomit crackling on your skin. He will heat the water to scalding and try to scrub it off with the edge of the blade you used to cut the coat. There is hope. Those scars will fester and explode, giving birth to a future, your daughter, Michaela. She is your Messiah. She is your Savior. Love her wholly. Love her whole. Learn to kneel at her cross, but only once you've learned to love yourself. And just so you know, sometimes self-love comes in the form of testosterone injected into thigh muscles. I know that the darkness is familiar and soothing, but light itself is not your enemy. The keeper of the flame that's trying to destroy you. So light your own candle, baby. You don't have to waste your life proposing marriage to anyone who will listen. You don't have to fuck everyone you want to love you. But even this is not what really matters, Hillary. I know that strong is not a word that you consent to or identify with, but in your first moments on this earth, you inhaled and drew art in the incomparable magic of love into your body. Dig deep. You're going to have to drag it out, kicking and screaming, and shove the poison back up the birth canal where it came from. What really matters is you were born with blood in your veins, not cyanide. You are not a ticking time bomb waiting for the pin to accidentally slip. You were not a mistake. I don't care what your mother says. You are not broken. You don't need fixing, Hillary. You were beautiful.
I saw a boy wearing little brother's eyes like he wore the ship. So unimportant. Swollen, abandoned black holes, they had lacked his soul. I have never known a demon stronger than this. Autism, plain sight. Tell me, what is real? The images we see or the dreams that we feel? My little brother, he always seems to be caught staring at a dream. Are you awake yet? Rashad, speak to me. Eyes broke time capsules, an impediment. More than just a speech problem, autism strangles. What conversation, what talk can be had with him? Little autism, is that his real name? Rashad Augustus Bakir, that's just a facade. No one sees a man. Just autism stretched over a boy's skeleton. How can we love him? A mentally disordered novelty. Unreal. Stuck in make-believe. How does one disappear when they were never even there? He is right here. He is walking the same earth, breathing the same air. Will we learn to stop questioning humanity? Eyes breaking mirrors, shards slicing air, reflecting their ignorance on broken siblings. When will we realize his eyes hold more butterflies than summer and spring? He knows shooting stars are angels playing frisbee using their halos.
Yes.
He says that shoulder blades are proof that God intends for us to have wings. When will we notice? He holds dragons in his hands. Some things we won't get. He is living prose. He is 23 haiku. This is 24. Some things we won't get. My little brother doesn't speak to me anymore. Our bond is rotted. That's what happens when you abandon angels. The wings fly away.
Just imagine
Yes.
love as a sexually transmitted disease.
Yeah.
Associate love with herpes instead of hearts and flowers. List love in a blood-borne pathogen, biohazard, deadly bacteria that breaks you down your emotional immune system, makes it so you can't eat, can't breathe, can't sleep with the one you slept with just last night, confessing, caressing. They've just infected with LOVE, lifelong obsessive venereal echinococosis, which means really big tapeworm that wraps itself around your heart and eats you slowly inside out. It never goes away. Yes, if you catch love as easy, you might catch crabs during sex and risking contamination no longer make rolling the dice of your life, but tossing a coin for your soul. Heads you live, tails you live. As a hopeless romantic pun for a person you can't even stand. What would you do if there was a 69% chance that if you 69 on a one-night stand, you would fall head over heels with the person you were just heels over head with? If foreplay was synonymous with engagement ring and every kiss was a down payment on matrimony, if you were practically proposing the moment you asked for a phone number, would you still want to shout bittersweet nothings randomly in a parking lot full of little sweet somethings when you really don't know how fast a little something can turn into a little someone, and a little someone is like love on steroids, love on hands and feet, Love doing push-ups in the womb for 9 months, only to break out like the Incredible Hulk screaming, oh, smash! Wreaking all types of havoc in your Mac Daddy vibe. Destroying your video game consoles and pissing on your precious tennis shoes. Who would have thought that a 4-year-old could make your manhood look so minuscule?
Yes.
But you can't get mad at the baby and slash the baby's throat with a kitchen knife and put the baby in a pot and cook the baby because this baby is made of love and you're infected with it until you die. Like syphilis or trichomoniasis, like scabies. If love was an STD, abortion clinics would be boys and girls clubs. The Ohio list of registered sex offenders would shrink into single digits and rapists would realize mid-stroke how madly in love they are with the person they were just previously piloting and jump off the nearest cliff. Prostitution will go the way of audio cassette tapes and books. The internet would crash the lack of pornographic content and fake people on Facebook, and the term baby daddies and baby mamas will become museum pieces. People have to go to the gallery of art to see examples of a single parent, as mothers and fathers will be too busy swooning over each other to ever separate. But sadly, love is not an epidemic in this world. In fact, hate is far more contagious than love. So what should we teach our children? Just imagine love as a sexual disease. Think of it this way. Every time you fornicate, you're actually having a menage a trois with Satan. Whatever it takes, whatever it comes like a rites of passage. And if you can't squeeze your lust into a lifestyle, you don't want it that bad. Bitch, you want people flying on the bills with this person, where credit cards grow on linden trees and children's tuition fees are like Venus flytraps, and your wallet is an insect. Forget about safe sex. Practice financial planning until child support court is calling in. Divorce forces your house into foreclosure. Ask yourself, is this the person you would want to give half of your salary to more than anyone else on the planet? If so, go for it. If not, pause a moment and think, and think, and think. What would love be if it was an STD?
Yeah.
7 mother goats. 1. Hosanna. My lungs collapsed when you asked me to recite a night that I invented. She spits this and smokes it. I hope she remembers the mercy I show arriving numb in a room more crowded than this. Her fingertips are drawn to me. When she finally kills me, give all credit to her guerreros. Ghosts. Magic can be one of 2 things, a ghost or an escape. You are all handkerchiefs and no doves. 3. To my leader. I know you. I'm sorry for never knowing how much you needed to hear that. In the long run, everyone explodes, gets caught in the rain, and as ashes are washed away. 4. I hope you die soon, if only to see your face again. If it helps you live dangerously, I'll tell you some secrets about heaven. Up here, we drink bourbon out of measuring cups.
Yes.
And oceans of chocolate milk. Immediately are taught how to play guitar, and it exists. 5. The farmer suggests that one must handle a bull with a staff and take no chances. That a gentle bull most often kills or maims his keeper, not a vicious one. For the man who tried to keep me, control, my corpse. The bed filled with red roses, tools planted between each bush, everything you need to start a fire, and my tame heart, place to start. 6. A cowboy refused to shake my hand because in a past life I was a toro, and today I am a woman. He still spurts an apology for that day.
Yes.
7. Hosanna, for myself.
I'm being the only trans person on the bus. Doors slide open, giving way to brick walls. I step into a world secluded from the other passengers. It zips me up like misty brick mortar and invisibly labels me other, not just from color or lack thereof, but seeping from every carefully selected identifying factor, doubling as bullseyes for fists dipped in misguidance. Sharp eyes digging at my epidermis is not a new phenomenon. An overheard cell phone conversation elicits confrontation. Wrapped in shaking hands and hardened tongue, she asks me, "What do you know about struggle, white boy?" And I'm struck by our separateness. Genetically induced islands zip us both into bubbles that divide us from the rest of the world and from each other. In this modern incarnation of communicating paradigms and heartbeats, black and transgender are synonymous with unacceptable. The difference being that my skin is painted in private with testosterone and needlepoint paintbrushes, with strictly counted pennies, counted and sequestered into a gaping savings account for international scalpel-built castles in the sky. But for all are separate, there is oneness here. I, too, know the taste of indiscriminate tears dispensed by those who ought to know better. I, too, have seen the fear that if they touch me, my disease might rub off on their fingertips. My people were never enslaved, but my brothers and sisters are still being slaughtered. Our brothers and sisters are still being slaughtered. My, how far we've come. What a peculiar evolution. We're trapped in individualized ghettos with walls of police brutality and blatant disregard for our humanity. I will never understand what's in the hearts of those who persecute us. How being different translates to we should not exist. Minority is not a swear word. We are not a stain to be scrubbed out of the flag. My mom used to tell me that God got tired of one color. So we started painting people different colors to make the world beautiful. I feel as though if I, on this bus, were to reach out and touch this woman's hand, cold brick would meet cold brick in place of skin. So instead, I meet her eyes deeply and say, "Honey, I breathe too."
I don't remember how to feel. I gave my period to the devil. When President Habyarimana's plane exploded over Kigali, Rwanda, I attempted to tuck my children back inside of me. I didn't know this was my first instinct as a mother. I scrubbed the Tutsi off of their skin for 3 days. They could be cold in the sunlight. Even it belonged to the Hutu. I suppose that makes them God. They took everything that belongs to me. Only God could do that. I saw a boy, 15 years old they were, slice a woman's child out of her. Boys I had given melon and cold water to on summer days. 2 of them raped her gutted, empty body. They looked much like flies on a pile of trash. The other 4 held me down, pounded the breath out of me, took my milk after. I don't remember how to feel. I gave my period to the devil. My sons, Philippe and Armin, tried with all of their fear to wrestle me from the Hutu boys. They had not yet baked long enough in a Hutu sun. There was still too much Rwanda Civil War blood, too much of their Tutsi mother, not enough of their Hutu father. The boys who ate melon from me had machete. They used them. When I saw the flame of Philippe's jawbone fly past the Rwanda skyline in my eyes, I could feel the flame of my heart explode. When Armand's fist fell to touch the soil, I attempted to pull the pieces of him back to me, to tuck him inside my womb. Why is this my first instinct as his mother? The Akazu Hutu men heard me say his father was Hutu as well. They laughed, called him a half-breed, called a smile into Armand's torso, slashed my 9-year-old toward me. I caught what was left. After the last boy was done, devouring me, so that I had nothing left to tuck my children inside of, I knew I was a corpse, a dead thing, a Tutsi woman, a thing. I lived. I did not survive.
Public service announcement. We are broke poets.
Yeah.
We're trying to go very far away. It's like 11.5-hour drive to Boston. And gas money is still questionable. So if you can find it in your heart to donate, nickels, dimes, quarters, pennies, all pay toll workers, I think, except pennies. But if you want to get pennies, we'll turn nickels, dimes, and quarters, dollars, $10 bills, $100 bills, checks, credit cards. Maybe not credit
Savings
cards.
bond.
All of that is good. So please see
Credit cards on the website.
Anything we appreciate also. I believe there are multiple people that have books for sale. They're in the room. I think y'all have books, right? Okay, I have CDs. So if you don't have any poetry that you haven't heard yet that you would like to read or listen to, please see us after the show. Y'all know what I have in my back pocket on paper, or do you want something out of my head?
What you
Your
feeling?
head.
Good, okay.
It ain't worth it, take it from me. I know you aching for freedom, and every day seems like it's breaking in pieces. You're in a basement of feelings, basically feeling like your faith hit a ceiling, and this place is just a grave for your dream. That's why you can't get enough sleep. But trust me, discover your thinking. Every person has got a purpose, every life has a meaning, everybody has got a future. Some just choose not to see it. The sole reason you have bad luck is because you believe in it. I believe every second is a second chance. I resurrect with every breath that's left when my chest expands. It flips depression into expression, and every phrase is a separate way to success. When you place the impression, time is money, money is time. Make an investment. More or less, if you have less than lesson, you have more to test. Whether you poor, you're rich or cold, in a corner and homeless, living moment to moment, you got hope. Because who knows what God will show you tomorrow. If I had any reward in this life, it's only because I sowed in sorrow. Life is not a lotto, it's a bottle of probable cause, and all you gotta do is unscrew it, unlock it, and drop it. I'm not an optimist, but please be positive. Let's pretend if God was watching, your father was talking. We ain't gotta die, man, don't start shooting, just give me the code, we can go do something. Because you can get through this. Just think of the child that died in the womb, that could have been you, trust me. Please, just put the gun down. Hip-hop. Put the gun down. Think of this music. Just listen to this music. I know it seems like persistence is useless and every street and intersection of the city must be a crucifix. You're losing your patience like hospitals losing their patients so fused in the confusion of these numerous days. But don't do it. Consider your doings and ways the truth of revolution is that's what music is based on. We make songs to escape the darkness and right our wrongs. We write our songs to escape the darkness inside us, because writer's block is life thought of without the light of God, and we are novelists trying to live out our autobiographies.
Yes.
I know what you're thinking. The more you know, the less you believe, and believe me, I know I couldn't quote you in scripture, but You gotta have a story. A story to finish hip-hop. Think of this boring-ass ending. Explore the corridors of this enormous invention and start forming a sentence. But what's forming a sentence if nobody listens? I don't get it. You pay admission but won't pay any attention as if liquor was too inexpensive on Kismet or something. I mean, forget it, it's nothing. I won't mention the subject. How many people in the house listen to hip-hop and love it? Keep fronting. Bleed breath in your lungs and saying you feel like people don't come out in public. Lose Stay home and get drunk. You'll be addicted to drugs. I'll be addicted to substance. I'm sick of stuffy, stuck-up, snuffleupagus motherfuckers that come to function. Meanwhile, people, they didn't have our poppers on crutches just for a couple of hours. They want to shout how the album is coming. I'm not coming down on you, but what I found in you is the same problem surrounding you. You can't think outside your box if you can't think outside your block. Think outside your block. My rhymes is guns. My time is funds. I spend every minute. You gotta be a man to handle your minutes, cause the minute inside of the minute is minute. So why shoot? Why not? Not reducing the population with a conversation. That's what hip-hop is based on. And as far as it comes being your home base, what's the basis for membership? Is this hip-hop? Or no for hypocrites? You would have to be spending so much time lying. I have a job. Hip-hop is my occupation. My hobby's a 9 to 5, man.
Yes.
This is all I got. Get outside of your block. Cause who knows by the next show you might get shot. Hip hop. Who knows by the next show I might get shot. Hip hop. Cause who knows by the next show these bombs might drop. Just live. Do your thing. Be out.
Yeah. Yes.
On answering the phone 2 years after he left you for Asher, let the phone ring. Clean the kitchen. Call him back and tell him you just finished cleaning the house and didn't notice he had called. When he asks how you are, tell him you are great and about to smoke a cigarette. Say it like you didn't quit 2 years ago. Walk to the couch and sit down with the dog you bought. Make jokes. He's gonna ask if you ever drive past the studio. He doesn't want to know where you've been driving. He just wants to hear that you still visit him at work. Listen to what he's saying on the other line. There are 3 people on the phone right now. You, the person who wanted to get married, and some guy who forced you to burlesque love. That guy just misses the show. He only called to ask if you still dance for men to validate yourself. Of course you do, but don't tell him. FaceTime him and prove it because you have an iPhone. He'll believe you found yourself a talented new boyfriend. He'll be so wonderstruck by your ass that he won't notice the walls, artwork, all behind you. This means he won't ask you what you had to do to get all. Thank the universe, he doesn't. Now prop the phone on to something. Make sure he can see how good you look in that shirt. This will remind him of the last time you saw each other. He will ask if you missed him. You will lie. He's gonna know you're lying because that's what made him leave in the first place. Your rooms, those are gonna make it harder for him to point out that you have made this entire conversation up. So you will bring up the one thing that was honest. It will be about how many men you've danced with since he's left. When you say one, you will notice the artwork behind you and start to look you in the eye. While looking, you will notice you're not lying. You will remember what this looks like because of the night you ate Molly sitting on the bathroom floor together in Louisville when you told him you loved him for the first time, then painted the word easy in lipstick across your own chest. We'll make up an excuse about leaving. We'll say it's okay. This time, you will mean it.
The 13 years of my life before I met you were a tormented, desperately hungry search. But I found my home when you took me in your arms for the first time and told me you loved me and that I was beautiful. But the only love I ever knew came from the romance novels I read, which were way over my head, so I thought this is how things went, and I let you touch me. I feel dirty. Not at first, guilty maybe, but for the first time in my life, somebody actually loved me. So I made myself believe the lies transfixed in your eyes every time you looked at me with that pedophilic thirst. And yes, Mother, it was your fault because you were too busy smoking too much of that religious drug to ever teach me I was worthy enough to say no. And I hate you vehemently for never saying, honey, I'm sorry I didn't protect you. And Jerry, I hate you even more. What kind of sick, twisted fuck preys on a little girl and then blames her when he's caught? Maybe my therapist is right. Maybe I do hide behind men's clothes and him and he pronouns because, God damn it, I never want to be beautiful again. I lie awake at night devising your demise. I have numerous notebooks filled with torturous schemes. But all I really want is to be free. Because when I look in the mirror, I see you instead of me. And so I break that mirror. But all I'm left with is a bloody hand, a tainted soul, and a broken heart.
We love you.
This will be our last poem, and of course, we'll be seeing Jessica.
I was going to use that as a group.
Okay. This is our last poem we're going to do was an old piece. Instead of the one for my father.
Do it.
That my team says is good, so I'll do it.
Do it.
Broken scrap pieces.
Poetry is bunny tails and marshmallows on a rolling ocean. Poetry is fuck all that. Let me tell you what poetry is not. Poetry is not me standing up here. Poetry is me cutting my wrist and bleeding out blue, black, red, or green ink, gray pencil lead, crayon, marker, pink highlighter, hell, anything that will mark this paper that is my bandages, cotton balls, surgical tape, and gauze. Poetry is not me trying to factor to you that I am an actor of prose. Poetry is me tipping over the cup, the mug, the pot, or the tub that holds my spirit at your feet, guides my movements, and shows you exactly what I'm feeling, down to the first word, the second verb, and the third meal I ate on the day that I wrote this. It was tofu! Long live the beans! Poetry is not me competing for knowing what my point score is by those who exist outside of my own head. Poetry is this completely selfish thing that I wrote to satisfy my need to bleed knowledge, wisdom, intelligence, or rhyme, to draw kingdoms of alphabets borrowed from time, and to fart out the ignorance that I witnessed and decided not to say anything about today. Oh my God, I have so much gas. But I will not fumigate you just yet, because you have to realize that this is not poetry, that this is not put together rhythmically, that this is glued together spiritually from broken Scrabble pieces, Happy Meals, and empty insulin needles. This is not poetry. This is me giving you so much of myself that I can almost say we're making love. This is not poetry. There's a couple more minutes. It's a bus ticket that only lasts a couple more minutes till expiration, if that. This is not poetry. This is me cooking a meal in my senses that your ears can taste. Bam! Be careful, baby. It's hot. This is not poetry. It's a bunch of letters smashed together trying to make sense of all this like slaves forced on a foreign ship. This is not poetry. It's Law and Order. At Dave and Buster's with Benny Jerry's. After Sally Jesse Raphael just got canceled. Yes! It's not poetry. It's coming out of the closet in an argument with your mother in the middle of Tower City on Christmas. This is not poetry. It's buying a brand new pair of prescription glasses and finding the old ones in your coat pocket. This is not poetry. It's a newborn baby that got dropped on his head, developed mental retardation, and grew up to be the savant to cure all of our diseases. This is not poetry. It's them sweatpants that used to fit before Thanksgiving. This is not poetry. It's a contaminated breast milk filled with all the things you don't want me to say, but like a newborn baby, you're drinking it anyway. Like fuck! Delicious. Don't worry, I'm not going to spell anything. This is not poetry! Or else it would be on parchment paper delivered in bad accents and dislocations. But this is on a direct conduit flow from my memory to my tongue to the air vibes to your eardrums. This is not poetry. It is authenticity finally being itself for the first time. It's not poetry. Because it's done. Why else wouldn't it be? Alright, those are, you did like 5.
On the website. Shout out that they can hear on the website while you're speaking so like.
Woo woo! Website www.dragoninkslam.com. There's a donate tab. Donate. Give us some dollars.
That's Ink, I-N-C, not I-N-K.
Yes. Dragon Ink. DRAGON INC. C as in copper, as in cash. SLAM. DragonInkSlam.com. There are tabs and that's stuff.
Please, for the love of God, give us money.
I don't care. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Bridget and Eric and Tammy and Jessica
And Virgo.
and Kara. Vertigo's gonna get special thanks for all the special things he does.
Vertigo is
Sound
our
equipment,
dedicated
or putting us on the internet, or making a website,
Or taking my ass.
You guys are
and
peaches.
leaving.
Thanks a million. All right, now,
Do you guys want to do?
team, we're gonna reconvene over about the round table, right around where Claire sits.
That's so fucking funny, I can't even be mad.